Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for a tech talk on security and compliance in hyper-distributed era. We're elated we have with us Rahul Arora, Country Manager, Strategic Sales, SonicWall, who's joined us back on this platform. So thank you so much, Rahul, for giving your time and joining us back on the show. Over to you, Rahul.
Thank you. Namaste, everyone. And thank you, Bhavna, for bringing me back on the platform. It's a great pleasure, of course. Give me a second while I can pull up my presentation and let me know once it comes up. So thank you, everyone. I think we've spent a decent amount of time since morning listening to what industry is really observing. And I needless to say that this industry that we are referring to, BFSI, is a very critical one. At the same point in time, we also need to understand that it is highly vulnerable to the kind of threat landscape which is ever evolving. And this new pandemic in last, I think, 5 months has also shown us the new normal. We have been talking about it, the new normal, which is accessing anything from anywhere, anytime, any device. But I think what's important is that it has also taught us a lesson of being operational, always staying operational while mitigating risks. And none of the business goals I've seen that have gone down. We are still very ambitious as a country, as an organization, as an industry vertical as well. And hence it brings me here to discuss a very interesting yet informative topic with all of you today. And I will touch upon a few things. Of course, I have a limited time of 20 minutes. I'll try to be on time so that I can take a few questions at the end as well. So I'll quickly start and I will put some points here for everybody's reference. That while we talk about security and while we talk about the ecosystem and everything, it's very, very visible that it's complex in nature. Okay, any enterprise or the BFSI or the banks or NBFCs we see, there's a huge hyper distribution of the network, of the infrastructure. We have branch networks, we have connectivity, we have internet bandwidth demands going up, right? And everybody is asking access from anywhere, anytime. And that is very important on every CISO's or a CTO or a CIO's mind today to ensure that all of these technology solutions that they're evaluating are aligning with the business goals that the organization needs to achieve. Right? Now, that is very important. And that's why I was mentioning in the panel discussion with eminent, panel speakers as well, that having an ecosystem as such becomes very important because it's not just a perimeter firewall. It's not just safeguarding the cloud, or it is not just safeguarding or having an EDR solution and ensuring that your endpoint devices are secured. The organizations are actually going borderless. Everybody is running a race of digitization, right? Everybody is adopting cloud in one or the other format, right? So that's very important. We need to understand that. And with that, a few facts for everybody that India as a country is also not left behind with the kind of cyber attacks or threat landscape which has been changing by observing that, right? Recently, not too far in last month itself, we all have seen the news about India Bulls as well, right? And then we have seen alerts and awarenesses created by SBI and the CERT and everybody contributing towards that information piece to ensure that the end user is made more aware. And I've mentioned earlier as well that it's a two-way education. One, the end user needs to be very, very aware of what is right and wrong. That's one piece. And second is we also need to work together in the industry to ensure that we have that increased pool of skilled personnel managing these kind of cybersecurity infrastructure and solutions. So that brings me to a very important aspect of my today's discussion is that what do we really need for building that ecosystem which covers security all around and also bridges a gap. Now, when I say a gap, my next slide will reflect on what this gap is. If you see, everybody talked about since morning on this platform that there is a huge risk escalation which has been going up, especially during the last 5-6 months, and we have observed it highly because of the exposure points being exposed, because so many unknown devices accessing data through different internet channels, through cloud and your internal infrastructure as well. We see that the cost is becoming prohibitive because if you keep deploying new security solutions, it will ask for more money. And more money, more headcounts is something that not every organization would, of course, want to invest in. Specifically looking at the current situation, if you see, everybody would want to have the best-in-class technology solution at the lowest-in-class possible TCO. Now, that's what is creating a cybersecurity business gap. Now, it's not just a technology or a solution gap. Please understand, it's a business gap that we are trying to address, because we want to deliver solutions as a provider to all the industry verticals which meet your security requirements for tomorrow, not today, tomorrow. Also ensures that you are operating that with lowest possible TCO. Now, that's important. And to do that, we have come up with a concept which is called boundless cybersecurity. Because if you see, the organizations are going borderless. Nobody knows who's accessing what from which device, from which location. I'm sitting in Delhi and I'm accessing a server which is hosted somewhere in some part of the US, right? Doesn't really tell anybody where am I accessing it from, right? And similarly, if you see, there are multiple exposure points. Whether it is an email, we have a lot of cloud platforms for email now, whether it is Office 365 or G Suite and others, or whether it is your endpoints being accessing your very critical application, let's say via VPN, right? We got to ensure that all these exposure points are covered. And now when we talk about branch network, which is a very relevant use case in your industry vertical as well, we see that it is becoming very important and challenging as well to securely manage the connectivity between multiple branches. And your smaller branches would have a high demand of internet bandwidth, because there are multiple mobile devices, there are IoT devices being added, POS machines and all. So, it's very important to cover those aspects as well. While there are multiple, there is a lot of content in this slide, I will just touch upon a couple of them which are very important, which come to my mind. And I keep discussing this with a lot of, CISOs and CXOs across the industry, out of which the first one is knowing the unknown. If you see, so that's a critical piece, because what the traditional security solutions have been doing, they have been looking at the threats basis the signatures, right? Also basis the experience and the expertise that they have, right? Now, that's not enough to identify proactively and to prevent the unknown threats or the zero-day attacks, or now we call it as never before seen attacks, or the kind of attacks which is not coming to the network but then directly hitting the processor via the memory, right? Now, those are the kind of attacks, those are the kind of threats that the solution or the platform should be capable to know proactively. That's a very important piece. Okay. Second piece on the right hand side, on the first tab, if you see, it says unified view. You can deploy n number of solutions to ensure that there is security in the infrastructure. But until and unless there is a centralized or a consolidated view or visibility given into that infrastructure, I don't think it will make any sense to anybody to actually take corrective measures or an informed decision to improve your security posture regularly. So that's very important. And the third one I'll touch is disruptive economics. We have been talking about it in the previous panel and the panel before that as well. We have heard that the cost of cyber security has been going up, right? And that's true. I will agree with you. While I'm coming from the other side of the industry and I would love to keep selling my solutions at the price that I would want to, but then that's not what we are here for, right? We are here to be a solution provider, to be an advisor wherein we can deliver you a security platform at the lowest possible TCO, so that you can actually stay operational while mitigating risk for a longer period of time, and not just give you a one short-term point solution and you manage for some time and then again you start facing challenges, right? So it's very important that you maintain your economics and the scale as well, so that it can grow or degrow with the kind of environmental changes that you make in your respective organizations. So this is very important. And maybe a fourth one that I'll touch is the last one, is the seamless coverage. Because as I've mentioned, it's not just a firewall, it's not just email security, but also wireless networks we got to secure, also the cloud infrastructures that we got to secure, the IoT devices that we got to secure. We see a huge adoption of IoT in BFSI, in healthcare, in manufacturing. So it's very important to kind of take care of that piece. And another critical piece, secure access. So remote access becomes very important. A lot of banks, of course, have a lot of remote users accessing critical applications. So it is very important that we have the best practices deployed, as well as the best in class solutions deployed using multi-factor authentication, access management, access control, device profiling, all of that in secure access. So with this, while you cover all this, is when you actually think of a boundless approach towards cybersecurity for your organization. So from here, what I'll do is I'll quickly jump into something which is very relevant for this industry. Now we see that a lot of BFSI industry is distributed in a bigger nature, right? And there are, of course, challenges when we take it to an enterprise level, and of course it has a consequent and subsequent effects of those challenges as well. If we see very categorically, I've tried to bring up few relevant challenges that I have observed while talking to a lot of eminent CXOs and CISOs from the industry. One is that while it is distributed in nature with a lot of branch offices, it is becoming very difficult to scale up the security for all the branch locations at the speed of what threats are evolving. Okay, so that is important. Second, while we have understood the importance of technologies and concepts like SDWAN and cloud as well, but then it is still becoming challenging because there is a huge demand of internet bandwidth from the mobile devices, IoT and others at the branch location. Also, it gives you unpredictable performance on the application access while we do it from the branch to the HO, right? So this is very important. And then I will say the last two, the slow deployment of rollout. Because of lack of skilled personnel at all the branches, I think it becomes very difficult and slow to deploy these security solutions at one by one at all the branches, So that becomes even more cumbersome for the entire IT organization to kind of manage that kind of environment. Okay. So now what I'll touch upon is that how do we answer these challenges? These are challenges, right? But our job is to provide a solution against it. Now the solution is a concept which is now transforming into a name called Secure SD Branch. Okay. Now by the name and the definition, you would obviously understand this is secure software defined branch. Now, what it actually is, it's a very comprehensive combination of secure SD-WAN, wired and wireless secured LAN, along with centralized management or a unified view of the entire infrastructure. Okay. We all know that SD-WAN these days, is as a concept is available by multiple solution providers. There are vendors like SonicWall, of course, who can give you SD-WAN functionality on all the next generation firewalls along with the other security features without you having to invest into any other device or any other application, any other investment. So the SD-WAN functionality comes by default with all the firewalls that you take, irrespective of the size or scale of the next generation firewall delivered by SonicWall. So that's on the branch connectivity side. Then you come to the wireless and wired LAN access, right? So network access switches now from SonicWall from 8 to 48 port, which also includes PoE enabled switches, has been delivered by SonicWall. And then the same switches are able to manage the wireless access points as well. And these wireless access points in isolation can also be secured wireless access points because they deliver security like content filtering and ATP on their own and can be managed via cloud as well. While you do this, deploying these solutions, it is very important that we have a centralized management as well, which will allow to have a zero-touch deployment for all these solutions, which means with a single or a couple of clicks, you can enable the configuration and the policies to be deployed for your branch solutions as well. So all you have to do is it becomes a plug and play solution. Then you do not really have to have a technical expertise personnel at all of your branch location. Let's say if you have 50 branches, you don't have to send 50 people there, or you don't have to wait for one person to go on those 50 branches and wait for 3 months for deployment. You can actually configure, ship the next generation firewall, and then plug and play, connect through SD-WAN, and the policies are done. So that's the kind of approach or the platform that I think the industry needs. And that's why if you see in the diagram that I've seen, firewall, switch, access point, and endpoint all works together from a single platform, works as an ecosystem, gives you threat intelligence to be shared across all platforms, number one. Number two, also enables zero touch for deployment. Number three, it gives you a single dashboard, a single pane of glass to manage, monitor, and analyze the entire infrastructure of the security deployments that you've done. So this concept altogether comes out as a secure SD branch. And the right hand, now the figure which I've just brought up on the slide will show you that how SonicWall solutions fit into this infrastructure or the setup that I have talked about. So if you see, your branch locations can be done with the SonicWall SMB series, which is TZ series of next generation firewalls. And the HOs or your data centers can be deployed with NSA or NSSP, which are high-end enterprise, grade next generation firewall from SonicWall. The beauty is, irrespective of the size, they work on the same platform. So SD-WAN connectivity, security services, scanning, everything works in the similar fashion. The GUI, the management, monitoring, everything remains the same. Not only this also tops it up with advanced threat protection now. And we use a patent pending technology, which is real-time deep memory inspection, which ensures that the unknown threats are definitely be identified beforehand and can be actioned upon. Now that's the SD-WAN piece for the branch connectivity and the internet connectivity. Then for network access, you have then switches, right? For your IoT devices, for your cameras, for your VoIPs. So can be connected via switches, and the same switch can be used to control and manage your access points to your wireless networks as well, right? So that piece is covered by the network or the LAN infrastructure, let's say, right? Then you also have your users connecting from various different devices that you want to secure. You want to put policies like USB block or maybe device profiling or maybe end user access authentication, right? So all that can be done by an endpoint EDR solution from SonicWall, which is called Capture Client, which also gives you a feature like rollback, which means on a Windows machine, if there has been an incident already, rollback feature can help you to bring back that machine to the last good known state. So that helps you minimizing the loss of data, time, as well as money. So that's what the endpoint solution can do. And when you come to the top of the diagram, you see there will be email security, email platforms that your users use, or cloud-based email platforms that you use. For that, we have cloud application security, which is completely API-based. Or you can always look at the hosted email security from SonicWall, which works brilliantly for Office 365 as well as G Suites and other cloud platforms. So that is taken care by the email security or the cloud app security part of the solution. And then above everything, you have a single pane of glass, which is called Capture Security Center, which is a cloud-based management, monitoring, analytical platform from SonicWall for all the solutions that you deploy. And the same solution soon is going to be available on premise as well, so that you have the choice of flavors of deploying such a management solution for managing all your security platforms. So this is how a secure SD branch can be very useful and quickly be deployed across all the branches and give you a quick GTM to the market and ensure that your your branches are operational quickly as well as secured, right? So that is SD branch. And these are the benefits that I've just talked about, but then just to summarize for all of you. So if you see, end-to-end security can be delivered as an ecosystem, as a platform. SD-WAN technology with multi-gig support on the switches can actually deliver a comprehensive combination of SD-WAN and SD-LAN. Then you do not really have to look at point solutions. You have a single pane of glass, and then you can look at zero-touch deployment as well, right? My next topic will be advanced threat protection. I'll not spend a lot of time here because I know this is not new to you. But then what I will really bring to some visibility here is how SonicWall does it. So we have multiple exposure points and multiple devices which is accessing internet through various different channels, right? Now, when we look at it, of course, there is a lot of traffic coming across. At SonicWall, our capture lab is our threat intelligence lab, which works 24/7 cross 365. Last year, we managed to scan about 9.9 billion files or malware files in 1 year, in 365 days, out of which about 99% was captured and identified by the traditional or the basic NGFW security services being available. Okay. However, 1% is something which is truly unknown in nature. While we say it is only 1%, but mind you, 1% for 9.9 billion comes to about 99 million files. And that's a huge number. And that's a kind of number that can bring a business down on day one, right? So that's how do we cater to that truly unknown, kind of traffic, is by using multi-engine sandbox. So our advanced threat protection concept works on multi-engine sandbox, doubled up with patent pending technology with SonicWall, which is called real-time deep memory inspection, which ensures that the never before seen attacks, like which are happening via the memory channel directly on the processor, are also being taken care of. And this entire thing can be managed. If you see, this is called capture ATP. So the capture is a name given to the ATP concept by SonicWall for our solution. And RTDMI is real time, as I've mentioned, patent pending technology, plays a very, very vital and critical role in doing this, knowing the unknown kind of, block that I've talked about earlier as well. Now, this is a cloud-based solution that we have, cloud-based sandbox, multi-engine sandbox that we have. We understand there are a lot of regulatory bodies, compliance, certifications in various industry verticals. And realizing that fact, we have now come up with the same technology of knowing the unknown using real-time deep memory inspection and multi-engine sandbox on an on-premise capture security appliance. Very important and relevant for the industry that we are addressing right now. So the same ecosystem threat intelligence can be delivered, ATP can be delivered on via a premise appliance to you as well. And this works not only on the SonicWall portfolio platform ecosystem, but also works via API integration from a lot of other third-party ISVs and applications as well. Okay, so that helps you addressing your data being in your environment while still be scrutinized and scanned for the utmost security which is required to stay operational. So this is a capture security appliance on premise for you, which has been recently launched last, 11th of August this month globally. So we are happy to introduce this another product platform from SonicWall, very relevant in this industry that we are addressing today. So I'll not spend more time. I've already got an alarm alert as well that I think I just have another 30 seconds. So I'll not spend a lot of time. But then for you who may not know a lot about SonicWall, we are almost about 3 decades old. One of the oldest cybersecurity industry fighting this arm race. We are still operating out of more than 200 countries with one of the largest in terms of number of firewalls being shipped across the globe, which is 3 million plus. We operate through our channel partners, 20,000 and growing stronger globally. And we, as on date, we safeguard about more than 500,000 organizations across the globe. Now, the capacity and the threat intelligence, I would just like to throw some number here for your reference. Our threat intelligence lab scans about 140,000 malware samples on a daily basis. That's the scale that we're talking about. The exposure and experience that we're talking about that SonicWall brings on the table. And that is why we are able to use machine learning and artificial intelligence in is much better and a bigger manner because of the data repository that we have. Okay. I'll finish my slide here with again highlighting 3 pillars that I've mentioned earlier as well. It's important for all of you to know the unknown, having a unified visibility and control in your environment and infrastructure deployments, and then ensuring that your solutions are maintaining disruptive economics so that you can scale up or down whenever required. Bhavna, I get the message, and this becomes the last slide, which is very important for the audiences as well. I might not have time to take questions, but then I would urge all of you to please visit our virtual booth. There are people from the team who are waiting to answer your questions, and there are a lot of videos as well as testimonials that we have added. And there will be a lucky draw at the end of the day, which we will be, timeline, I'm not too sure, but then we will be coming up with a lucky draw for the winner who will be awarded with a Fossil smartwatch. So I would urge and request all of you to visit the virtual booth that we have on this platform. With that, thank you very much. And thanks, Bhavna. Thank you, everyone. Hope this was informative, and I wish everybody stays safe. Thank you.